Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. This is not the type of stream we wanted to have to kickstart 2024. When we last left off before the Eagles went into whatever the hell happened against the Arizona Cardinals, there was optimism that surely things couldn't get worse. That it's Jonathan Gannon, it's a 3-12 team. The Cardinals pose no threat. And I'll start with a little anecdote, okay? New Year's Eve is my girlfriend's birthday. Happy birthday, Mrs. LJ. It wasn't as happy when the Eagles lost. Yeah, I'm wincing like that. So I was at a party, we're drinking a night away, and I was able to watch the first half while she was getting ready. Fantastic, because, girls take a while to get ready. The Eagles start winning. I'm sat there going, you take as long as you want, sunshine. You do what you need to do. I'm just going to watch this game. I was tweeting through it, making notes for the articles the next day. And when I leave, it wasn't the prettiest thing in the world. It wasn't fantastic, but the Eagles won, or they were winning at halftime, right? They were in front. It was never really in doubt, was it? Like, I wasn't scared going into halftime that the Eagles would suddenly collapse. So I left the phone. I go and have a little boogie. We go to the party. We start chatting, whatever. And around, what would it be? Like maybe 9 o'clock at night. Okay, my time. It's about 4 p.m. Eastern your time. Someone asked me, don't the Eagles play today? Don't the Eagles play? So I said, yeah, they're beating the Cardinals. And I get my phone out, and the feeling I had in my stomach at that exact point was just, I thought I was seeing things. I thought it was a practical joke that someone had asked me if the Eagles were playing, because they'd maybe made a Photoshop of them losing, or because they'd maybe just got my phone and showed me something. Do you know what I mean? Like, it couldn't have been real. The Eagles they didn't lose to the Cardinals. It wasn't a final score. They didn't lose to Arizona, did they? Did they? Is this reality? Can we just double check before I go on the rants, before we talk about what's happened afterwards and Marcus Hayes? We got to go over that. Before we get to any of it, can we just double check? I'm not hungover. The Eagles did lose. I didn't imagine it, and I wasn't drunk. If we can establish that, we can unfortunately move on. But I need to make sure, because I feel like I might still be in some, alcohol-induced coma somewhere, and that this isn't real. Because it's not right, is it? There's no way that should have happened. So that was my experience with the Eagles game. As K1 says, you stopped watching and we lost. Apart from that, it was a happy new year. I hope you've all had a happy new year as well, and that the start of 2024 has been positive. Anything outside of Eagles related, we hope you find health and happiness in all avenues. Unfortunately, none of that will be found in Philadelphia for the time being. I don't even know where to start with the loss to the Cardinals, other than I guess that the one series that continues to be spoken about, criticized, overanalyzed, which was the terrible series at the end of the game that saw a penalty to 1st and 20, a pair of horrific QB runs, one that got 4 yards, one that then went backwards 4 yards, and then the screen on 3rd and 20. Look, I feel like at this point, all I've done this year is criticize Brian Johnson and slander the offense and slam its lack of creativity and its blandness and its soulless existence. Every week, I do these streams, and you guys agree with me, and it's fantastic. And I clip it, and I put it on Twitter, and I have people going, but it's Sirianni's offense, it's Nick's fault, it's not Brian, it's Jalen, it's AJ. And like any excuse, I'm past the point. I'm past the point of excuses. I'm past the point of whose fault it is, of finger pointing, of whatever. It's just bad. And I saw that there was a report today from Adam Schefter stating that Nick Sirianni is safe, that his job is not in jeopardy under any way, which I back, because realistically, he has been to the playoffs 3 years in a row, and I couldn't really imagine another team having a head coach take them to the playoffs in 3 consecutive years, with at the time a second-year quarterback that's then grown into the $250 million man, and fire them. So I understand that, but there has to be some level of acceptance. And I wrote an article earlier today about the weight of expectation, and it's something that I've preached heavily on this stream. So unfortunately, for all the times I've waxed lyrical, you're about to get waxed up again, baby girl. We're going to go heavy with this weight of expectation today. look, we've held the Eagles to an elite standard all year because they've played like an elite team. Okay. Eventually, it was going to catch up. Whether it was a Super Bowl hangover, whether it was something else, it was going to get them right. Like with a tougher schedule, they make a huge investment at quarterback. The dynamics change on the team. There are things that change in the offseason. There are distractions like elsewhere, sort of off the field. You're bound to have like some level of regression. That's the thing with being elite that people kind of forget. And the further we stray from the period and the era of Tom Brady, the more it kind of entrenches how rare and ridiculously impressive it is, right? To have a dynasty that goes on that long, that is always in or around or winning the Super Bowl. So, like, the further we get away and you see how hard it is to sustain it, the Seattle Seahawks were the first team when they made it back, the Malcolm Butler pick, and it all went tits up after that. You then find yourself in situations like the Eagles are, where they're just fighting the current to stay elite. The issue is on a trajectory. If you go from bad to great, okay, you start out awful, and as it suggests, you progressively get better. But there's a limit. That ceiling has a limit. Elite is the very top. You can't get better than that. That's the pinnacle. So the only way from the top of the mountain is down. And how far down the mountain you go depends on a billion different factors before you start climbing back up. And what I think, and I alluded to it the other day, I think the Eagles have done is just lose sight of the team they actually are in midst of overthinking it and overcomplicating it and panicking that they're sliding down the mountain. Like in reality, it's just panicking, screaming, like, oh my God, it's horrible. It's like, have you ever seen a kid at a swimming pool? Maybe you were that kid. I know I was. When you start swimming lessons and they get you to try and jump in the deep end, okay? Actually, I'll tell you what, I'll go one better. Let's humiliate LJ. Give me 35 seconds, all right? You're going to love this one. It's the perfect analogy. K1's going to have a field day. Okay, you're all going to have field days. Before we get there, remember that point. I just want to quickly shout out some of you guys that are in the chat today. Thank you all for tuning in. I hope you're all having a lovely evening. If you could leave a like on the stream, that would be amazing. It is the best way to help support us and keep the streams growing. Tony Tomatoes is in. That's a new name. Love to see you, sir. Chuck Hutton says hello. Good to hear you again. Nice to hear from you too, Chuck. These streams happen 3 days a week. So Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, just for an hour to talk birds. And then the rest of our content is on phillysportsnetwork.com. Angel Segovia, I hope I pronounced that correctly, says, do you think for the Eagles will get the head coach? Do I mean will they fire him? I don't. We'll get to that shortly. Shout out to Ronnie for liking the stream on Facebook. And one more Facebook comment here. The Facebook army is coming in clutch this evening. Happy New Year to you, my friend. I'll always love this Eagles team and want the team to win. I do. However, I really believe that this team is lost and really have no identity. Completely agree with that. Thoughts on AJ Brown's comment says, Azai, I'll get there. Before we get there, we need to talk about what this Eagles team is actually doing. Okay, so let me find this video. I'm going to... I can't even spell the word. This is going to end well, isn't it? I promise it's worth your time, right? You're going to wait 30 seconds, and it's going to be worth every single bit of it. Where is it? Oh, come on. I remember the guy's channel as well. It's of me. It's great content. There we are. Right, we got it. Okay, so the best 44 seconds of your life you're about to see. All right, watch this. This, ladies and gentlemen, what you're about to see on the screen. Can you see it? Yes, we can. Okay, what you're about to see on the screen is a young LJ. Okay, it was 14 years ago. So I'm 20. I would have been 14 years old. Okay, the haircut says a lot. I'm at my local first time and think I might be the next Bam Margera. In reality, it was far from it. As you can see, I'm getting very scared of this bit over here. We'll give the live commentary. And to me, this feels like the bowl in the background. Okay, what it actually is about an inch high. Yeah, this feels like a death drop. This feels like it is just the deepest thing you could ever go down, right? Like a channel into the abyss. What it actually is about, again, a couple inches. It's not that much. And I can't crack it. I cannot get the hang of it. Because in my head, it feels Too big. The drop feels too... The little kid's loving it. He's not caring. That little kid there in the background as I face plant the ground, okay? That little kid there, that's the New York Giants. That's the Arizona Cardinals. Fearless. They don't care. They don't fear the bottom. They've been there a million times. They don't care what's at the bottom of that mountain. They'll try and drop in regardless. Sorry, little fella. Who's that? Who's that dickhead in the back? Right, let's talk about this for a minute. All 22 analysis. What a dickhead! Push me off. Push me off my little skateboard, right? But my point is, as people like that go round and they have a hell of a time and they're trying it, I'm too scared. I don't understand what's going on, and I faceplant. Okay? And I faceplant. And I've just come back and we've got 32 viewers. That's fantastic. Across all platforms, so 32 people have now seen that. It was better when it was just YouTube. So that for me is what the Eagles are doing. It's overthinking it. It's a drop. It's that big. There really isn't much in it, is there? If we're being completely honest with ourselves. They're in the playoffs. They're an 11-win team. They've guaranteed the 5 seed no matter what happens this weekend. No matter what happens, they're in the playoffs, okay? They will face the Tampa Bay Buccaneers more than likely, barring an upset somewhere. That's a winnable game. They've beaten them before. There's no need to overthink it. There's no need to get cute and just panic, okay? Honey, Brian Johnson, right? Look at the state of this. This is your offense. This is your offense, Brian, okay? All you've got to do is call a slant, call a play action pass, call an RPO, run the ball, do anything but get scared and try and catch them out and do that and fall flat on your ass, okay? Because it's embarrassing, yeah? As we understand, it is embarrassing. I'm on the video, I'm on the screen embarrassing myself, look, okay? Paint me like one of your French girls. There's no way the Eagles can be falling off that hard. And it is just overthinking it. Like, have they forgotten who they are? Realistically, how has this Eagles team forgotten who it is? They were in the Super Bowl last year. You've got a top 5 quarterback. You've got 2 top 10 receivers. One of them is 3rd in the NFL. DeAndre Swift is over 1K yards for the first time in his career. You've got a great offensive line. That should be winning the game. It wasn't because the defense sucked. All right, fine. But defensively, you've got a great defensive front. Sure, all right, the rest of it's questionable. But the defensive front skin, like the defense at the start of the year couldn't put a foot wrong. And I said at the start of the year, you're being bailed out. These second half adjustments are fantastic. But eventually, you can't keep relying on the same thing to happen. And we've seen what happens when you don't. Now the defense is in a spot of bother. And you're going to lean on a guy because Zach Cunningham won't play because he's questionable for the last 18 weeks. Shaq Leonard, who randomly had the game of his life against the Giants, he's now going to be tasked with having it again. Like, there's so much overcomplexion. There's too much going on. Avonte Maddox comes back, looks wobbly. Did he need to come back there? You've been rushing him to practice. You've been trying to get him back. He's been out 15 weeks. His conditioning's going to be all over the gaff. You don't know what you're going to get from him. Okay? Why is he out there? Why is he out there when you've got a guy like Bradley Roby, who hasn't been great, but he was better than that, and he hadn't been terrible, and then Maddox gets hurt again. Corners are the same thing. It is just overthinking every little nuance they can because they are feeling the weight of expectation. The expectation is now greatness. 3 playoff runs in a row. 1 Super Bowl and a partridge in a pear tree. This Eagles team has been brilliant. Jalen Hurts has ascended to an elite quarterback. The offense is among the best in the entire league. The look down. The look down is scary. As soon as you look to the floor from a high building, you shit yourself. And the Eagles are spending so much time worrying about what's going on down here that they're forgetting they're the ones stood up top. That they're the ones that have conquered that mountain, that have got there in the first place. They're the ones that have beaten the Dolphins, that have beaten the Bills, that have beaten the Chiefs, that aren't slouches. They shouldn't be losing to the Cardinals, and they're so worried about the idea of losing to the Cardinals that they end up just slobbering everywhere and just throwing out vomiting plays that do nothing for no one. And as soon as they concede a touchdown, as soon as that wheel wobbles, we said it last week, as soon as that first punch is dealt, that first jab is thrown, they don't know what to do. They don't know what to do. I thought maybe it's a lack of leadership. Maybe they haven't faced the adversity to pull themselves back from the brink. Whatever it is, there is just nothing. All they're seeing is down. There is no, all right, guys, let's get up and go again. It's, oh, we've been hit. Oh, my God, it's happening. We don't know what to do. Oh, I'm bleeding. Oh, I'm bleeding. Like, there is nothing. And that is what has got to change. We'll get to some of your comments. I'm intrigued to see how bad the skateboarding was. The anecdotes now are visuals. This is the best stream. This is the best thing I've ever seen on this stream. Glad I could help. Meanwhile, that was a traumatic experience. Glad I could help as well. You know, we have parallels there, don't we, of what that moment was for us. But I'm glad we could all share it together. But realistically, yeah, they should have the 1 seed. The fact that it becomes the 1 or the 5 is the most on-brand thing for this Eagles team. But they don't deserve the 1 seed, if we're being honest. They haven't really played well enough to deserve the 1 seed as much as they have just limping over the line because they're naturally talented enough. Like, it's easy to sit here and say, well, the Eagles deserve to win every game they win because they won the game. Otherwise, they wouldn't, blah, blah, blah. That's fine. There's a difference between, like, put it this way. If you are like Manchester United and you are facing a team like the one I support, you are expected to win. If you are Alabama and you are facing Tulane or you are facing LA Tech, you are expected to win. If you then don't, if you start fearing the teams behind you, I don't know what you expect, really. Like, it's the expectation is you win because you are good enough to win that game. So saying the Eagles deserve to win, no, they were just talented enough to win. I think there's a difference there. The Eagles were talented enough to go 16, 17 and 0. The Eagles were talented enough to beat the Cowboys on the road, to beat the Niners. They were talented enough to overcome every challenge they've got. Are they good enough? Did they deserve to? Are two very different things. And I don't really think the Eagles deserve to be in a conversation for the number 1 seed. They're good enough to be. I don't think they deserve to be. And that's sort of where I am with it at the minute. You need to give them a pep talk, says Ronnie. I wouldn't mind it. I don't think they'd listen to me, though, if I'm honest. They're not going to be big fans of me. It's almost unbearable at the link. The Eagles let Rat B Canada and Pullen for Murray beat them. Yeah, I mean, I can't believe that. I can't believe that's the one I'm most shocked by. Like, of all the games that they have dropped over the past month, and that's the thing. Like, that's how you know it's an issue. It's the past month, and we've said it since 10-1. At 10-1, you're complaining. At 10-2, you're panicking. Was it 10-3 they went to? Was it 10-3 or 11, whatever it was, right? But then it's like, oh, you're just being dramatic. You don't believe in the team. Then they lose a 4th one. Oh, my God, but now you're just hating. It's 11-5. Oh, you're such a doomer. No, I've been calling the same shit for like 7 weeks. It's just now it's catching up to them, you know? It's wild. The defense should look great against Drew bloody Lock. Who are they playing? I mean, they've got... It's the Giants this week, isn't it? So then they should look great against anyone. They should have looked good against Drew Lock. I mean, it's the Seahawks. I would say it's not like, you know. But in fairness to Drew, he did put on like the game of his life. Drew Lock for 5 minutes was like prime Peyton Manning in those like Instagram memes where it's like me at my kid's birthday throwing Nerf bullets. Drew Lock was that for like 5 minutes. Absolutely unstoppable. Shouldn't have been that way, but, you know, beggars can't be choosers. Skywarn Spotter Ken says, I solely put their struggles on Sirianni, Johnson, and currently Matt Patricia. Sirianni for not holding his coordinators accountable. Johnson due to pulling players out is Keister. Don't know what that word means, but I'm assuming it's something naughty. And Patricia, who really honestly hasn't been a change. Well, that's the thing. They've made the change at defensive coordinator. They've signed Shaq Leonard. They brought in Kevin Byard, and the defense has got worse. The defense was better in weeks 1 to 5. It was great weeks 1. No one was complaining about the deep. Or weeks 1 to 5, it was a circle jerk saying how quick Sean Desai is going to be a head coach in this league, how rapid he's going to ascend the coaching circle, and how lucky Philadelphia is to even have him. Then he gets pulled, and it's the defense looks worse. I don't understand that bit at all. Well, we'll come down. When's Slay coming back? Hopefully never. No, sorry, I don't know. He was limited in today's walkthrough, so make of that what you will. I don't think there's a need to bring him back for this game, really, because they're going to be. I don't want him to come back for a win, really, because he's going to beat the Giants and start retweeting PFF stats about how many blades of grass he's covered when the wind's blowing west on a Sunday at 3:32 p.m. Like, it doesn't interest me. I don't think he helps. Has there been a drop off really from Darius Slade to Keely Ringo? Has there been a drop off? Is there a drop off from James Bradbury to Eli Ricks? I think it's more schematic. I don't think it matters who you've got playing at corner. I think it's going to still be just as bad because, again, the same way with Jim Schwartz, is they're playing them like, 10 yards off the field or 10 yards back from receivers. I don't think there's that much. Or Hurts has just regressed badly, or his knee's worse than we realise. I don't know. I don't know about Jalen because there are times he looks genuinely brilliant, and there are other times he doesn't look genuinely brilliant, and he makes me very nervous and scared. And I don't know how much of it falls on Brian Johnson, like how much of it is limited play design. I wish we could. The only way to do it, you'd have to kind of make a composite chart of like next gen stats and overlay every single route run by every receiver and tight end and just see how it looks and see what options on average, what he would have available on each play. I don't even know if you can do that, but you'd have to get quite deep. I just don't. I don't know. I don't know how much of it is on him. I'm very reluctant to. I think he should be held accountable because he is the team's biggest investment. And that's what worries me. I think it's not so much Jalen's fault as much as it is that there is now added weight. And again, it's expectation. This Eagles team, 3 consecutive playoff berths, 1 Super Bowl appearance. Jalen Hurts was near enough an MVP candidate last year. There is an expectation that, well, now we've put the money where your mouth is. Now we've bought all of the press conference quips and the quotes and it doesn't matter if your dog can't walk, if you can't walk the dog. That's genuinely really good. I don't know what that means, but that's the sort of thing Jalen would say. We need that on a t-shirt. That was genuinely impressive. I've just shocked myself there. But, we bought into all that. You're giving $250 million and you say, right, Super Bowl now. Go on, go do your thing. Take this team to glory. We know you can do it. Do it again. And now that, had he not received that contract extension... Okay, let's put it this way. About the Jalen Hurts thing. Let's reframe it, right? Jalen Hurts at the minute, $250 million, okay? He's being treated like an elite quarterback who's expected to play elite. He did just set a career high in passing touchdowns, by the way, but for the context of this, we'll ignore that. If Jalen Hurts had not signed that contract extension this offseason, and he was now in a year where he was betting on himself in a similar way to Lamar once did, but without the unnecessary drama, would he be lobbying for the Eagles to re-sign him? Would he be lobbying for a Jalen Hurts extension? Maybe not $250 million, but would you be wanting him back on a long-term deal? That's the way you've got to look at it. Had he not signed the extension, has this year of play been good enough for you? Let's go to the stats. I know they don't tell the entire story, but we can certainly get some just to contextualize the years that he's had. But I think for me, that's probably the fairest way to look because I think otherwise you get lost in but we've signed him and, X, Y, and Z. So let's have a look. I mean, that's a lot of data. Right, here we go. So 2023 to 2022, can we compare? We've highlighted them here. Don't worry about the wins. QB wins aren't a stat for the guys at home. So he's thrown more passes, right? He's thrown in fewer games, I believe. No, he hasn't. That's more games, isn't it? 11. Yeah. But in one more game, he's thrown, 70 more passes? So that's not great, is it, really? But he's completed near enough the same. So we can let him off for that. The worrying bit is that in 100 more passes, he's gained 100 yards. That's like 1 yard per pass, which, hey, for Brian Johnson's offense is about average, isn't it, if we're being honest? It's about right. So that's where we are with that. Career high in passing touchdowns to 23. The interceptions are up, but again, he has attempted 100 more passes. 20 more first downs. His passing success rate is up 1%. Ooh! Yards per attempt is down a little bit, but in line with 2021. Air yards is down. That's because Brian Johnson's offense, I think, is holding it back. Yards per game's down. Passing ratings down. QBR's down. But they are all near enough improvements over last year. Oh, sorry, over 2021 even. They're all improvements over 2021. The only thing that I guess worries me a little is that the sack number is down like by 4, so about 10%. But he's thrown out. So he's throwing 100 more times, been sacked 4 times less, and he's only put up 100 more yards. That worries me a bit. I can't, like, something there isn't sitting too right with me. And I know the interceptions are the big one, like 14. I mean, it's going to be one of those where, like, we need Jimmy Kempski to go back and look at, like, every single pick. I say Jimmy like it's not my full-time job either. But just to look at every interception and see whose fault it was. Maybe we can do it on a stream together sometime. But I don't know. I don't know. I mean, obviously, rushing touchdowns I want to ignore because they don't make sense. I mean, it is all just brotherly shove, so it doesn't really matter, does it? Like, 15 rushing touchdowns is insane. He had 13 last year. But rushing yards are down. Everything's... I don't know. I'm intrigued. But my point is originally with this, interceptions are way up. A lot of cries for the interceptions here. But I would you still sign him to a new deal? Having seen those stats, had he not signed the $250 million extension, would you have signed Jalen Hurts to a new contract? I think the answer would be yes, because he's still going to be an average quarterback. Really? That's like top 10, top 15-ish. And as K1's saying, he's still just 25 years old. It's his 4th year in the league. He's had an elite year. Like, not everyone goes elite. It's not always like that trajectory rise. And as Isaac says there, his completion percentage is also the same. So it's mostly just that the receivers are doing after the catch. Yeah, I wish... Can you get Team Yak stats? I'm not sure if we can. But that's a very interesting point. NFL, there must be a... Team Yak. All right, here we are. I don't have them on the screen. I'm going to quickly share them just so we don't do that. Cool. Right. Intended air yards? No. Completed air yards? No. Yak. Cool. Right. The Eagles in yards after the catch rank there, which is what? 32, 31, 30, 29, 28, 20. 25th in yards after the catch. So that's good. Pass yards after the catch per completion. They rank near enough the same. Intended air yards per pass. See, that's mad. Look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They rank 6th in intended air yards per pass attempt. And then it goes down a bit. But they can't get depth. They're not getting any. So all it's showing is they're throwing the ball unnecessarily deeper to me. To me, it shows like they're throwing... Who are these guys? Get them off. No free publicity here. They're throwing the ball deeper, and the receivers just kind of sat there, and they can't turn and go. There is no yards after the catch. Everything is over the top. Nothing is underneath. Is what we can learn there, really. So passing attempts, they're still not throwing it that much. That's interesting. They're still not throwing it an awful amount. But intended air yards are up there. So it is... That's all right. Look at it this way. Passing attempts, they are 32, 31, 30, 29, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. 21st. All right. The Eagles rank 21st in pass attempts. The intended air yards, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11th. They rank 11th in intended air yards. So they rank 21st in the actual times they throw. So no, they're not throwing it very much. But when they do, they are yeeting it. They are yeeting it as far down the field as Jalen will humanly carry them. So, yeah, I'm with Isaac. I don't really think that a lot of this is on Jalen Hurts at all. Hurts has been, whether it's a bum knee, whether it's bum play calling, whether it's a limited offense, I really think that Jalen's doing fine. There's no reason to be concerned. There's no reason to be like, circle jerking him and to say how amazing he's been doing and to look at his quotes of, there's no point in watering the plant if the plant's not going to water you. There's no point to, pretend these are great. But we can also say, look, he's not that bad. He is okay. So they don't throw that much per Hertz. Okay, that's bad. Yeah, I forgot about that. That's bad. Yeah, that one's not good, is it? Yeah. All right, maybe there's an issue. Maybe let's turn around. I'm only joking with you. Happy New Year, Phil. I hope you had a lovely holiday and played some good golf. Well, I saw your scores. I hope you played some golf and I hope you had a happy New Year. I promise I won't swear at you this time either. Jalen can't be blamed for this. Watching games, he's keeping his head downfield, making plays with his legs. It's just BJ as him looking for the big play too much. Potentially, I agree with that. So even throwing 100 more times, the receivers aren't doing much. Exactly. What Liam's really asking is, do we put a ring on it? And I absolutely would. There's nothing to detract me from wanting to keep Jalen Hurts around for that long. You know, there isn't. I think he's been exactly what the team have needed. Has he been the difference in every game? No. Has he been the difference in some? Absolutely. So K1's not a fan, I don't think, of what we've seen this year. I'm intrigued. Happy New Year, Zach. Happy New Year, everyone in the chat. Yeah, but I don't know how much I want to put on him, though. Like, if we were to list people responsible for the Eagles being underwhelming this year, where would Jalen Hurts sit? Is he above Brian Johnson? Probably not. Is he above Nick Sirianni? No. Sean Desai? No. Matt Patricia? No. Logically, the quarterback is the most important position on a football team, so he's going to be up there. I mean, how many, hang on. I need to find interception leaders because I'm intrigued. Oh, come on. I can't type with one hand. I need a mic stand. Yes. Right. Bear with me. Team. Why can't I just search turnovers like a normal person? Why have I got thrown interceptions? Honestly, you're an idiot sometimes, Liam. Interceptions thrown. Okay, yeah, it's not good. It's not good. So the most in the league is 15, apparently. Or was this last year? Okay. Oh, that's weird. Where are the Eagles? Oh, no. There we go. You just can't. Okay, right. So the most in the league's 21. There. All right, we're back. Let me share this. Cool. Right. Oh, get these random people off my screen. Right. So the Browns have 21. The Pats have 19. Right. Let's just look at the teams that rank high in picks and see where they are. Browns playoffs. Patriots bums. Commanders bums. Raiders bums. Vikings bums. Bills playoffs. Chiefs playoffs. Falcons maybe edge of playoffs. Bears bums. Jets bums. Eagles. Dolphins have one less. Playoffs. Cardinals bums. Lions playoffs. And if you look at the way that, I mean, the Chiefs and Bills should be eschewing for the AFC title this year. The Lions will be instead for the NFC title. The Niners have 12. I mean, sure, 4 came in one game, but the Niners have 12. The Rams have 12. The Packers have 11. Like, these are all NFC playoff teams. It's just because 6 is such a small number, like for interceptions. It's not very often you have like a 6-pick season. I would say on average, like for me, 12 to 15 is probably what you'd want in a season. Like, anything above that gets scary. I think for me, 10 to 15 is acceptable. Anything under 10 is sublime, but anything between 10 and 15, I don't really think is that bad. Or am I the odd one out there? I guess it's contextual and it depends what the rest of the team's doing. But these aren't game-killing turnovers. It's like when Jalen turns the ball over, you know they're going to have another shot to set things right. Cheerio, Liam in the chat 12. Happy New Year to you all. Been under weather the past few days. That sucks, man. I hope you feel better soon. Happy New Year to you and your family. I hope you had a stupendous start to 2024. We've been under the weather, so you haven't. But I hope you do have a start when you get better from that. 2-to-1 in TD to INT ratio is the standard. I don't think 15 is that bad. I mean, fumbles you can argue, but I think we're going so far from the point just to find a reason that like another reason. I think the thing with it is, and K1's right that the one against the Jets was bad. The thing with looking at Jalen Hurts through this lens right now is that no one knows what's wrong with the Eagles. No one knows what's wrong with the Eagles. You'll have Marcus Hayes writing a dumbass piece. I mean, we'll talk about that shortly. I know we're in at the back end of the show now. I can sit here and harp on about Brian Johnson and how bad the offense has been and AJ Brown's route usage and all the rest of it. I can sit here and talk about Jalen Hurts. I can sit here and talk about Nick Sirianni, or the fact that I don't think it's always been this way, but they don't really practice on a Wednesday. It's always walkthroughs. It's a walkthrough Wednesday. They practice Thursday. They practice Friday. So maybe in a bid to keep them healthy, there is some level. I don't know how many other teams do it. Maybe it's a new thing. I've only noticed it this year that the Eagles really are hammering home walkthroughs. So that's something small, but it's a microcosm for what could be a bigger issue. The issue with singling any of them out is that it's like it's not one excuse caters for everything. You know, Jalen Hurts turning the ball over 14 times doesn't stop the defense giving up 42 points against the Cardinals. It doesn't stop the defense giving up 172 rushing yards a game. It doesn't stop the defense giving up penalty after penalty after penalty. You know, like, sure, it contributes because the defense is on the field more. But in the same way, the defense playing bad isn't responsible for those Hurts turnovers. Or Brian Johnson's play call isn't responsible for Hurts turning the ball over because it's not Madden. He's not controlling Jalen Hurts. Maybe he's schemed up a great play and Hurts just hasn't seen it and, like K1 says, missed an open guy. But it's not one size fits all. No one knows what's wrong with this team. And I think that's the most infuriating thing, is that it's so many little things that it just adds up into panic because no one knows what it is. Like, how many times have you had something wrong with you and Googled it and then convinced yourself you're going to die in a week? It became like a boomer meme for a while, didn't it? But even I'm guilty of it. I did it last week. Like, I've got an irregular heart rate. I don't really know why, but my girlfriend's got a pacemaker and she told me like a couple of weeks back that your heartbeat's been really irregular recently. And I was like, oh, that's scary. And now I've noticed it more and I'm focused on it and I can hear it all the time. And if I drink like alcohol, it gets way worse. And I Googled it and it was like, stress and anxiety, depression, caffeine, lack of hydration. And I'm like just ticking all these off going, yep. Same sort of thing. Like, it could be one of them, it could be none of them, but it's a bit of everything at that point. So is what it is. I will go to a doctor, by the way, for anyone genuinely concerned. I didn't mean to worry if you were getting worried. It's all fine. But yeah, it's like no one knows. So we just sit here trying to pinpoint. So it's not like, you know, the Giants, you go, the team fell apart for X, Y, or Z. It's not like you look at the Raiders or you look at the Packers and their teething issues where they've now burst out of that slump. The Bears, the Commanders. We're not talking like poverty franchises that have very clear issues. The fact is that this is an Eagles team, as we said earlier in the show, that the expectation is greatness. The expectation is a playoff berth. The expectation is an NFC East title. And when you fall short of that, is one thing. Falling short without any real reason, no one really knows what's going on. They just know that the offense sucks, the defense sucks. Jalen Hurts is turning the ball over at an alarming rate. The play calling's horrific. Jordan Davis is apparently overweight. AJ Brown is apparently Terrell Owens. Like, and it's just compounding. And it's getting worse and worse and worse. Like, it's only gonna spiral further until something changes. And the weirdest part is that this team could go on a run. They could beat the Bucks. They could beat the Cowboys. They could beat the Niners. They could win the NFC Championship. They could win the Super Bowl. And no one, it's just going to go down as a heroic turnaround. The team had lost its way and they won it. And it's like, yeah, but no one knows why. They were just a good team that wobbled and got better. But it's so plausible that by the end of it, if they do win the Super Bowl, no one's going to care. No one's going to care about, you know, whether AJ Brown spoke to reporters or not. No one's going to care if Jalen Hurts had 14 turnovers or 40, you know? And that's what I think that the weirdest thing is about this whole team. This stream's therapeutic for your heart rate. It definitely isn't. I think it makes it worse. There is a coincidence between me having an irregular heartbeat and starting these streams. That's all I'm saying. They are getting worse. It will cause a myocardial infarct. I don't know what that is, but I'm going to Google that later and we're going to go down the rabbit hole again. AJ is not. Oh no, I agree, dude. I completely agree. I was making the comment because that's how he's unfortunately been portrayed by a lot of people. So yeah, don't worry, we're Team AJ here. We'll get onto that now. I mean, let's talk about that in a minute. A quick shout to oh, I can see Facebook love and all reactions. Wow, hello. Charo Virig. I'm sorry if I've got your name incorrect there. I am British and I might be slightly dyspraxic. I'm not sure. Apologies if I haven't. But thank you for the like, Shara. I appreciate you. Oh, okay. Yes, that old chestnut, the old heart attack. Yes. If you run the ball heavy in the first half, opposing defenses will be tired enough. Our long developing plays to actually work. It's a good shout. I mean, the thing is, when they start running, they just stop it. They'll have like 105 yards on the ground in one quarter and go, nah, that'll do. Well, we've hit our quota today, boys. Back to park. Go on. Back on the sideline you go, DeAndre. You little cherub, you little, oh, get over there. Go on, you little, oh, go on. Like, don't understand it. But let's talk AJ Brown. Because it's really unfair. Like, we spoke about it, like, you know, after the Giants loss, it kind of started that the noises started coming out, and we pointed out how visible his emotions were, whether it was on the sideline, whether it was like squaring up to people on the opposite sideline, or just getting into spats. Like, he had the spat with Jalen earlier in the year. He's a very emotional player, and I love him for it, right? I think we all do. What doesn't help is when you've got, like, and this is what I wrote an article on this yesterday, and I know I'm biased because I run the damn thing, but I think PSN had two genuinely brilliant articles on AJ Brown. One was by me, and one was by David Neese, who all we do is continue to gas up in this stream because he is just remarkable. And not that my article was brilliant, but I mean, like, I tried to emphasize that, look, the guy is a captain on the team. Okay, you're expected to talk to the media. He's got every right to be frustrated in the world. He's got every right to be annoyed at his teammates, the coaching staff, the play, the outcome, whatever. He's got an obligation to do. And unfortunately, if you step away as a veteran, not really a veteran, but a leader on the team especially, and you don't field questions after a loss, questions will be asked not only of you, but of the team. That's completely natural. And while he was right to pull away, because as he explained today, his intent was to not make anything worse. And if he hasn't got anything nice to say, not to say it, it is going to spark questions. All right, well, why doesn't AJ want to talk? How bad is it? Are there fractures? Which unfortunately happened. And he's kind of realized that, and he's been accountable. And I think the way he spoke today was absolutely exceptional. It was genuinely like exactly what the team needed from him to begin with. But David wrote a much better piece, like an incredible piece on the person that AJ Brown is. And I completely forgot about this, but AJ put a TikTok up, I want to say a year ago, about his mental health and his depression and his struggles and what football means to him. And you look at what Jordan Mailata said, where he sets up this like team bonding day. You look at how he approached the media today. Like, he is a leader. Unfortunately, it just sucks that as a captain, a weight of responsibility comes with you. You know, if something goes wrong with PSN, but, you know, I was going to give an example and it's bad, so we won't go there. But, like, it's a bit bad happening with PSN, all right? If our views dropped off a cliff tomorrow and our advertisers went away or something, right? And people come to me and tweet me and ask what's going on, I don't reply to anyone. It's going to, like, well, what does Liam know? Or is Liam's thing? Like, surely Liam's going to have an idea. Like, what's going on here? Like, it's natural. And as smart and as nuanced as AJ was today, he dug himself out of a hole he unfortunately pushed himself into. Now, what wasn't warranted was Marcus Hayes' bollocks piece on how there's a fracture in the locker room and AJ Brown's at the center of it. That was absolutely just asinine, I think. And he's got a habit of doing it. The guy comes out once every 6 months with an article like of just pure anger. Like, you know, I don't know who's pissed him off. I don't know why he's so upset. I don't think I ever read an article from him that's just nice and lovely. You know? Like, the last big one that blew up was the Carson Wentz thing. Then there was this, like the old Sean Jeffrey thing. Like he's just always there around. If there's ever a fire burning, he'll put gasoline on it. And he didn't. AJ didn't deserve that because he's always been very open and very humble and very approachable. But in the heat of the moment on the game, like in a game, he gets fired up and he's emotional and he's visible and he's pissed off because he wants to win and he's an elite receiver and he's not doing what he should be. His teammates aren't doing what they should be. It's going to be annoying. But I think that he handled it the right way in the end. But if you're a captain on that team, in the same way, we look at Darius Slay in a slightly negative light for going on Twitter after a loss and saying how good he played. There's a level of behavior associated with it. And AJ didn't exhibit it for a week. And then he kind of learned, like, that wasn't the intent. He didn't mean that to happen. Here's what I meant. Here's why I didn't do that. And he didn't owe an explanation, but he gave it anyway. And I think that was really good. He handled it perfectly. There's nothing going on at PSN. There's nothing going on. We're all fine. Don't you worry about that. Or would I say, or am I doing an AJ? You know, now we're in a great spot. We're having a hell of a time. But there was an incident. I mean, what I was going to say is it's just not the same situation. There was an incident we had a few years ago where an unnamed person was highlighted for just being, in a kind way, not the kind of person we want at PSN. Some old tweets got unearthed, and it was always traumatic, genuinely the most traumatic week of my life, because I'm having to then deal with that and what to do. Like, do we keep him? Do we fire him? Do we talk to him? All that stuff. But people expected answers from me because obviously it's my ship, right? And I'm letting that happen. So it's like, okay, well, I have to be accountable and I have to put out a statement and I have to manage that. In the same, because I'm a leader, no one expects it from a writer because it's not their thing. And it's the same way, as soon as you have a badge of leadership or a badge, you go in those trenches. Like, that's your job. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. And I think AJ has kind of recognized that and just dealt with it in a really, really strong way. Like, I think that he couldn't have done today any better. And I wish Marcus Hayes was there to get a slap on the head, or at least just to have the fear of God put into him by, as I was saying, a 6'5" monstrous wideout. So, yeah, it's one of them. Like, I think it should be done. I think AJ said all the right things and carried himself in the right way. It's just learning that in a game with football where it's so reactionary, it's not like baseball. It's not like you've got 178,000 games and there's 4 a day and that every loss doesn't matter. Like, there are 16, 17 of these things. They add up. Every loss matters. And if they chain together and these events become a pattern, people look to the leaders. They look to the captains. They look to the stars. They look to where the money is. And if you're not willing to talk, it opens up discussions, whether you want them or not. A quote always stuck with me, and I can never remember the context of it, but it was Stephen A. Smith, and I think it's LeBron. I think it's Kevin Durant. Yeah, I'll back Kevin Durant, but KD refused to speak to. I'm assuming it was KD. Refused to speak to Stephen A. Smith, and Stephen A's response on first take or whatever it was the next morning was, "We don't have to talk to you to talk about you." And that's always stuck in my mind as a reporter because, he's right. And unfortunately, you can kind of do more damage by pulling yourself from a situation because, like AJ said today, they'll write stories anyway. They will. But the stories won't be about the game. They'll be about the fact the team lost and a leader on that team didn't talk. And why is it? So then they start probing. And if there is someone like a Marcus Hayes who, whether or not he has an agenda, whether or not he has his cornflakes pissed in every morning, I'm not sure. But if there's a reason to drum up that unnecessary clickbaity bullshit, it will be there. And I think for AJ to approach it like he did today, and carry himself like a lead, that was a true, my moment. This was, as far as I am him moments go, take anything off the field. That for me was huge. The way he carried himself, the way he was honest, he was open, perfect. You couldn't have asked for much better. So yeah, all in on AJ Brown. I think he carried himself with a tremendous sense of pride, humility, and accountability. All things that have been missing Recently. A lot of money in that clickbaity shit, my friend. Unfortunately Unfortunately, it's my job. I mean, I tried. I mean, look at the, I have capitals. I sometimes you have to get a little bit inventive. I will say one thing that was very, very nice in a caveat, and Ronnie says there that David's article was I'm really glad you enjoyed it, Ronnie. Thank you for reading it. David's article has done so many numbers the past 2 days. And I don't know the reason for it. And I don't really, because it's not a clickbaity article in the slightest. It's a very positive article about quite a negative thing. And it's done thousands, with tens of thousands. And I'm just happy that that's the kind of article that does. Do you know what I mean? I could sit here and make stuff up or angle a headline or single out players and chase clicks, but it's never been PSN. It's never been what we do. And I think to spotlight a writer like David who just did that so well. It was such a delicate subject, and he wrote it so intricately. Everything was just very concise and clear and thoughtful, and it was just a lovely piece. I'll get a link for anyone that hasn't read it because it's a really good read. And look, I know it's my site, I know I run it, but it was a genuine honor to share that on a day where AJ's being attacked by other outlets, by the writers, for whatever. To have an article that spotlights the person he is, where he's come from, what he's gone through, was just really nice. So I'm going to put this in the chat for anyone that does want to read it, just because it has been it was, again, just a real privilege to put that on PSN. I felt very proud of David for being able to write that money in there. It is very, very easy to write a negative article. It's hard to write a positive one. 100%. I feel like the average Philly fan doesn't want to hear the sky's falling. No, I mean, we've kind of gone past it now because, again, there's no real weight to it. There's no gravitas there. We don't really understand what's happening or why. So you just finger point, and then you get accusatory, and then it gets saucy. Not in a horny way, but in a, finger point, an anonymous sort of way. So I don't think they're in that sort of stage. So fans now want to know a solution. It's we've all seen the problem. Where do we go from here? It's crashing your car and sitting in it for 3 hours waiting for the repair van to show up while the person sat next to you continues to tell you how you crashed the car. I know we've crashed a car. The car is fucked. The car is stuck against a lamppost, okay? What we need to learn, it'll work out, is how to get that car to a mechanic and get it fixed, how we go to hospitals, whatever, all right? We can't sit and say, yeah, but you crashed it. We know it's crashed. We can all see it's crashed. Okay, what we need to do is get the car fixed. And I think that's very much, luckily, where the Eagles fan base seems to be at. They want a solution, not just more problems, because you either want an Eagles team to be very good or very bad from a content perspective. It's easier to talk about. But very bad gets dangerous because it can get quite toxic. And I think we're just hitting a point where there's been so much of it over such a long period that people just don't want it anymore, which is a very nice spot to be in. Even what he said previously wasn't bad from a place of being down and feeling like he needs to do something to raise the whole team. Yeah, I think AJ's been great. I really do. I think that, again, he's handled this very well. And respectfully, the guy is put up 2 remarkable seasons in Philadelphia, has broke NFL records, has broke Eagles records. He can say, if you don't want to talk to media, I'm not bothered. If it's Darius Slay, I've got an issue, okay? If it's someone that, is regressing and it's bad, like right now, AJ Brown is a guaranteed result or home run hit to get, 80 yards a game, 70 yards a game. You don't really think about it. If AJ puts up 20, you're a bit, oh, well, that was bad, but I'll be back next week. We'll get 150. Don't worry about it. You never really worry. You never really care because he's that good. So it doesn't really matter to me that AJ Brown didn't want to talk to reporters or took himself out of a situation because he's one of the most impactful players on the team. And K1's right in what he says. He's just not a problem on the team. If anything, he's a solution. The only thing we can say is that does he get force-fed the ball sometimes? Sure he does. But when you're that good and you're third in the NFL's receiving list, it could be worse. It's not like this is Alshon Jeffrey being forced the ball. Yeah, it's not like the old Shaunimous sources. It's not like Zach Ertz being forced the ball. Yeah, this is a player that is game breaking, and on any given catch can change the game. I have no problem with Jalen maybe trying to force the ball into a tighter window to get AJ than a more open one to get Smitty or Goddard or whoever. And I think most people will be the same depending on context, but realistically, they probably will. We're about to hit the end of the stream. I will be back on, what day is it now? It's Wednesday, isn't it? So I'll be back on Friday, which means we can go over, the Giants game. Can't wait for that. Can't wait to preview that one. I hate this week. This week is so irrelevant. I want to say this before we go. This week of football is bollocks. Okay? The NFL want to extend the season and go like, oh, we want more teams in the playoffs and we want more football. Fine. But when it gets to this point, you've got Sam Darnold, Carson Wentz, okay? A bunch of just bums. Sam Darnold, Carson Wentz, Tyrod Taylor, Nick Mullins, all starting quarterbacks, and you want an extra week of football because it will get you more money. Not on TV, it won't. No one's tuning in to watch primetime Nick Mullins, everyone. No one is tuning in to watch a preseason game glorified when there's nothing on the line for a lot of the teams. There's one division that's interesting, and that's the NFC South. Because one of 3 teams can win the division depending on how it all falls. I think that's fascinating. The rest of it is a mess. There's no need for these games, really, if we're being honest with ourselves. So it's stupid. In the same way it's stupid that to qualify for the playoffs, which should be a knockout of the best teams in the league, you have literally 16 teams at this point. I know it's 12, but you know what I mean, right? It's half the league. It's half the league. You have to be average to get into the playoffs. You're an average team, gets you a postseason berth. Grow up, NFL, all right? We want elite teams playing elite teams. We want to feel excited for a playoff match, not the Green Bay Packers against the Lions, because the Lions will sleep. But there's no point in them being there. It's another pointless game for a good team to have to run through because you want more money. It's stupid, but I understand it. Secure the bag, King Rog. You do what you got to do. One of these games will end in a 0-0 draw. If there's ever a way to bet on there not being points scored in the football game, I'm genuinely bet every game of this week, every year, until it hits. Because it's going to be quite a hefty bet. So I'd be all in for it. Alex says, rest the starters after the first quarter. I would completely agree with that, Alex. Thank you for tuning in today. NFL wants that the money when their teams have a chance to get into playoff, cash is king. It is, unfortunately, as much as we can agree or disagree and have our opinions on it, the NFL will keep being the NFL, and that's that. So we, as Eagles fans, have a game against the New York Giants to look forward to. And I, for one, can't bloody wait. I can't bloody wait. I believe it's Packers-Cowboys right now. Can you imagine if the Packers win? They do seem to be heating up at just the right time. The offense is finding itself without Aaron Rodgers. They're starting to build it the right way. It's an offense that was, I guess, built around Rodgers that has now had a season of just tinkering and adaptation and has changed a bit. It's cool. I'm glad to see the Packers doing well. Will they spring a surprise in the playoffs? Who's to say? But make sure you say hello to Philliam tomorrow in Trending in the AM. That is not the PSN breakfast show, but it is a good one nonetheless. And I'll see you all on Friday for the Eagles-Giants preview. One that I am, as Isaac says, he can wait, and I am excited. So going to be fun. Enjoy the rest of your week, guys. I hope you all have a fantastic next few days. There's no Thursday night football on today or tomorrow, is there? I know we've got a Friday one instead. If you haven't liked the stream already, if you could, that would be amazing. Mary Fendler has just liked it on Facebook. Thank you so much for the love. Just to quickly answer, Eric, if we beat the Giants, do we lock up the division? Nil pois, sir. The Eagles need to beat the Giants, and the Cowboys need to lose to the Commanders. That's right. The Commanders, who are 13-point underdogs, need to beat the Cowboys. So who's to say? Who's to say? Don't stop watching at halftime, you wanker. I won't this week. There's no birthday party this week, so I will be back on full duty. I hope you all had a great festive period. Thank you for your patience. I know that we didn't have a lot of content over the last week or so in terms of YouTube stuff because, I did take a break. Shock. I did actually take a break, which was quite good. So I had a great Christmas, and hopefully you all did too. And fingers crossed the Eagles can start the new year the way it should be with a win over the Giants. Take care, guys. Go Birds. I'll see you on Friday. Goodbye.